Joining us now, Hogan Gidley, Press Secretary, Trump-Pence 2020 Trump campaign. Hogan, sorry we were a little behind in getting you on today. I apologize for that. I know your time is valuable. Give us your thoughts here after 2 days of the Democrats' video conference Zoom-o-rama.
Well, thanks so much for having me on, John. I always appreciate it. I'm just confused by the whole thing. They don't even really mention Joe Biden all that much. There's probably a good reason for that. People are fawning over speakers that aren't on the ballot and don't move the needle. A lot of the messaging is all off when you have someone like a turncoat, and liar like John Kasich go up there and say, Joe's right down the middle of the road. He's not going to be pushed around. And then you follow that up with Bernie Sanders saying, hey, all the radical stuff we've been talking about is now the mainstream, and we've pushed Joe to that radical spot. So we're all in good shape, everyone. And we're as radical as we ever were and more radical than we'll ever be right now. And we're very excited about it. So the whole thing, quite frankly, is a mess. It looks very clunky on TV. And I heard someone compare it to like a dating app where you put your best picture up there and you create this profile of what you are and how amazing you are. What we're watching is actually the real you, not the dating app profile you. So what you're seeing is just all of the radical agenda items of the socialist left on full display that no one thought possible. Look, I have to tell you, yesterday the theme was leadership. And leadership matters or something like that. Yeah, leadership matters. Leadership that allowed an avowed anti-Semite, someone who's open about her anti-Semitism, Linda Sarsour, to speak yesterday. Leadership that put John Kerry in front of the camera, someone who gave billions of dollars of cash to Iran and then admitted that money would probably be used for terrorism, possibly against the United States. And leadership vacuums about these cities and our great states across this country that are being torn to pieces, burned to the ground, looted, rioting going on everywhere. They're all controlled by Democrats and have been for decades, some more than a century. You'd think they might want to offer a little tidbit of how all these Democrat-controlled cities are going to be fixed, considering it's the Democrat convention. We've heard none of that to this point, not to mention any policy prescriptions. So it's a complete and total failure as I see it so far.
Well, Hogan, the vice president, now the nominee, we can say we don't have to use the word presumptive after last night. Now the nominee, Joe Biden, of the Democratic Party in 2020, he's only really articulated two policies that I can tell, and I follow this every day. I'm on the air 4 hours a day. I run a newspaper in Virginia. I mean, obviously I follow it. He's got two policies. Number one, he's going to raise taxes. Okay, got it. Number two, he's going to make everybody wear a mandatory mask for a minimum of 90 days, and it could go on for 9 months or in perpetuity. So you're going to have a mask on and double your taxes or pay higher, whatever he said he was going to do. Those are the only two policies he has. So if I'm out in Montana fishing in the woods, I got to have a mask on, or somebody in a helicopter will give me a $250 fine. These are the only policies the guy's actually rolled out, isn't it?
Well, a couple things. The irony of him saying everyone has to wear a mask at all times while he's not wearing a mask is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen, not to mention the fact how he brags about following the science. And when he offers suggestions of how to fix coronavirus, it was all things we'd already done. So thanks for nothing, Joe. But also, speaking of following the science and listening to medical experts, he was riding a bicycle in that famous video just the other day wearing a mask when the CDC says don't wear a mask in that particular instance, but do wear a helmet. And he didn't have on a helmet. So he's got everything all backwards, does Joe Biden. But he has a couple of other policy prescriptions, if you're paying attention to our advertising at the Trump campaign, that kind of exposes his thoughts. It's not just raising taxes by $4 trillion, although he took a look at that $2 trillion number from Hillary and said, hold my beer, and just decided to double it. He also says he wants to give amnesty to 11 million illegal aliens in this country as well. He's also pushing now for the Green New Deal. He supports that. That's something we hadn't heard much about these last few nights, because I don't think they want the American people to see kind of behind the curtain and how radical they actually are. They're talking about banning fracking. Now, Joe Biden has tried to walk that back and say, Pennsylvania needs to frack, but nobody else. No, that's not the way it works. And that would cost hundreds of thousands of jobs across this country. But that shouldn't be surprising. His support of NAFTA killed 800,000 jobs in this country. His support of China killed 3.5 million jobs directly, stripping away livelihoods of American citizens and giving them over to the people in China. So I think we have a few other things out there that he said publicly he wants to do. I'm just waiting for the Democrat convention to kind of talk about how excited they are about taking over this country and remaking it, as they've said many times, in the image of a socialist nation.
It's all right. Juxtapose the Trump Republican convention that will be next week. Of course, I'm delegation chairman in Virginia. I leave for Charlotte, I think, Saturday afternoon, so I'll be there through Monday. But how is ours going to be different?
Well, I can't get too far ahead of what we're going to do yet. We got some good surprises. I think it's going to be a great experience, even though it has to be done virtually for the most part. But look, you're seeing a few snapshots of what we're going to be talking about with this president actually going out talking directly to the American people this week. He's already been over to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Arizona. He heads to Pennsylvania later in the week, too. And we know, it's so funny, the media and the Democrats don't want Donald Trump out speaking, and they don't want Joe Biden out speaking, but for both very different reasons. They know when Joe Biden goes out and speaks, without the teleprompters, unfettered, unedited, you hear crazy comments about, children loving to rub his leg hair and Arizona being a great city and how black people all think alike, stuff like that. But they want him to stay in that hidey hole as long as he can. But they don't want President Trump out because they know when he gives his uplifting, unifying, patriotic message directly to the American people without the filter of the mainstream media, that it resonates. And people remember they had been forgotten for decades. And this man came in and said, "You're forgotten no more."
Well, the juxtaposition next week, I think, is going to be stunning because you're right. The president is out there talking to real people. And all we're getting from really the DNC now is Hollywood stars and other people. It was also interesting to see Bill Clinton last night speaking on video. Of course, one of the newspapers, one of the tabloids in the United Kingdom, had released a file of the former president running around with Jeffrey Epstein. But it's kind of stunning to me that what happened to the Me Too movement. I thought that was there was some consistency there. No mention of Bill Clinton, no mention of Epstein, no mention of any of the things that he had done. Yet he's able to go on prime time and do a video. Don't you find that a little, I don't know, disingenuous?
It's disingenuous. It's hypocritical. It's insane, and the media don't cover it. I mean, look, if there's one thing we know about the media, they cover for their own. And Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they're all part of the same system in which, the radical leftist socialist agenda of, Joe Biden, who's now been taken over by that entire wing, and Kamala Harris, who is the most radical senator, even more so in her voting record than Bernie Sanders. She is the most. They've taken everything over, and the media are going to cover for them at every single cost because that's their same philosophy. That's their same point of view. So they agree that we need to remake this country. They don't like this country, so they think we need to remake it. But to put Bill Clinton up there, and I think I even tweeted something about this, but my goodness,
you did. That's why I asked you.
Oh, to have him look into that camera and say, "Let me tell you, the Oval Office should be a command center, not a storm center," or whatever he said. He is the last person on the face of the planet that I'm going to take advice from on how the Oval Office should be treated. And I saw someone respond and forgive me for saying it, but someone responded to that tweet and said, "Close, but no cigar, Bill." And I thought, wow, even worse.
Close, but that's why I asked you that question, because I laughed when I saw your tweet. He probably is the last person, especially at either the coffee room outside of the White House office, outside of the Oval Office, that some people know well, or of course the other place, I guess, that a lot of official business wasn't conducted, was under the desk. But I don't want to go there. But yeah, close. But
we don't need to go there. But yes.
But I tell you what, I mean, the irony of it. I mean, could you imagine if he was a Republican? I mean, could you imagine if he attempted to go on and do a primetime video speech, and then the pictures come out with him? You know, I mean, look, the pictures pictures speak 1,000 words. I mean, he's on the Jeffrey Epstein Express or whatever, you know, getting back massages from people. Not a word out of them.
You hit on something though that we didn't even really. You're getting to it there, which is so great. It's that the hypocrisy of having Bill Clinton try and tell us how the Oval Office should be used is one thing, but in the middle of this movement, they didn't talk about any of the other, sitting female office holders who said they didn't want their children anywhere near Bill Clinton. They wouldn't have their daughters near Bill Clinton. They didn't want their sisters. The ridiculousness, I don't even know what word to use, of having someone with that track record in the middle of this Me Too movement of believe all women, all of those things, to be propping up Bill Clinton of all people. It just seems like tone deaf doesn't even do it justice. I mean, it's just insanity.
Well, and then there's a complete ignoring by the fake news media of Tara Reid. I mean, it's like she doesn't exist. So her claims don't matter. So her claims don't matter because they're not claimed against Judge Kavanaugh, right? So her claims don't matter. Her recollection doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It only matters if it's targeted to the right people to fit whatever their narrative is. So I really don't know. After Bill Clinton and after Tara Reid, I don't know how the Me Too movement now can be taken seriously by the left. I just don't see it. I mean, certainly all people need to be believed, and I get that. But look, I'm in Virginia. We got a guy running for governor, our lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax. He's been accused of a number of things that go way beyond what anybody talked about Tara Reid or Judge Kavanaugh. I mean, they've used the word rape. He's a lieutenant governor. He's running for governor. I personally think, he deserves due process, and I've been vocal in that, and I don't think, he should be. He hasn't been convicted of anything, and nobody filed anything, and his career is over.
Right.
So I've been sympathetic to his cause, but it's the inconsistency, Hogan. It is the hypocrisy. I mean, I'm consistent.
Well, it's only applying it to Republicans. It doesn't apply to Democrats at all.
Exactly.
I mean, you can either be in blackface or wear a Klan hood, and no one has a problem with it if you're a Democrat. No one.
Well, they did until they made a deal with him, right? So they had a problem with it. They called for him to resign. Then they were going to elevate Justin Fairfax to governor. He was on his way to Richmond with his family. I mean, he was within hours. I mean, Northam was ready to resign. He was within hours. Then the allegations on him came out.
Oh, that's
Some say planted by Terry McAuliffe because he didn't want him in there for a 7-year period. I mean, this whole thing is going to come out, but the hypocrisy of it is beyond the pale. Hogan, I really appreciate the time. I know you got to go. Are you going to be in Charlotte?
I'm not sure yet. I have to go give some speeches. I don't know that I'm going to be in Charlotte next week, but we've got a few surprises planned, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Am I going to get you to do a rally for us in Virginia? Can you make that commitment? We got 75 days. You can find one night, right? You can sneak down.
I'm sure. Hey,
do a rally for us.
You know the people who tell me where to go and when to go there. You tell them, and I'm sure I'm all in. I'm happy to do anything.
But I always start. Look,
you know that.
The reason I get things done is because I start with the source I want, and then I can go back to them and say, "Hey, talk to Hogan, who said he's all in. Can we set this up?"
Yeah.
See, that's the way it works. I know how to work the system, Hogan.
That's good.
I'm going to
Working
get you
system.
down. I'm going to
That's
get you to
done.
Virginia. John Fredericks Radio Network, Hogan Gidley, press secretary, Trump campaign, Trump Pence 2020. Hogan, thanks for being with us. Always great to have you on, man.